Welcome to the Casual Shooters Podcast, your premier podcast for the casual shooter. I am your host, David Riddle. And as you can see on the screen, I have two guest hosts tonight, Mr. Brian Nelson and Mr. Josh Cardenas. Everybody give them a round of applause. Woohoo! Welcome, gentlemen. There we go. Let that run its course. There we go. All right. So I had reached out to you guys just so the audience knows why you're here to talk about PCSL Two Gun Nats in 2025. Since this is the second one I've been at, I wanted to bring you guys on and talk to you about the actual match itself. Josh, you RO'd both years. Mm-hmm. Brian, you shot as a competitor both years.
Yep.
So I have some questions which I know will lead to further discussion about different things, and we'll take it from there. Before I forget, there we go. I had to quickly type in another question that I had before I forgot it. So as much as I've been drinking caffeine today, it's probably not enough. So
know that feel.
All right. So this one's for I don't care who wants to take it first, but what I would like to hear is your opinion of the location last year, Prairie Fire, versus SUP's Southern Utah Practical Shooting Range this year.
Cool. Brian, you that's your kind of your home state, so.
Yeah, so it is my home range. I started shooting there. I grew up in St. George, so I started shooting there in 2008. So obviously I'm biased because St. George is my home. It's great. I can go stay with my parents, and they like that 'cause they get to see me.
Cheater.
Yeah, exactly. Sleep in my old childhood room, which my parents made much nicer after I moved out.
Did they take the stars and the moon off the ceiling?
They took
The glow in the dark.
But no, in terms of location, St. George, between Prairie Fire and St. George, either way, you got to rent a car and fly into Vegas, generally speaking. So, yeah, location I think is great. Southern Utah Practical Shooting Range. The bays are a little bit smaller. They have more of them, which led to some sort of closer stages. But overall, I think they're fairly similar. And to be quite honest, SUPS is a great match host if you can get your match at SUPS. They did a great job hosting the PCC Nationals this year, and they did a great job hosting the PCSL Nationals this year. And Prairie Fire, to be quite honest, just said they don't really value competitive shooting or shooters. So, yeah, I think SUPS is a much better host just because of that.
Before you go, Josh, let me add a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I tend to agree with that very last part, Brian, that I was disappointed that they said no more competition there. I think they're turning it into an internal Staccato because now they're calling it Staccato West. They did away with the Prairie Fire name. So I think it's become more internal, less external, unless you're in that law enforcement military realm, and then they'll do more training. So I was disappointed that happened, but there are some disadvantages to having a match there. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, so SUPS was like my first, my second technically. We did the Berry Steel match earlier that year, so it was my second time going out there. So compared to with Prairie Fire, I liked and enjoyed Prairie Fire just because it had more options. We had a lot of terrain stages that were optional, and we could have done so much more if we were to do the following year. So we had a lot of ideas going forward from that. SUPS is great because they love it. They're a great host, and it's a great facility, and it's convenient. Because, I mean, our Airbnbs were like 10, 15, not even 10 minutes away from the range itself. And flying to Vegas or flying to St. George and, rent a car or not, like, there's a lot of people in that area that everyone's kind of friends with. So, like, you could hook. It was just so convenient compared to Prairie Fire. Prairie Fire was just so far away, and staying in Pahrump was not it. It was not it.
Yeah.
So, but no, I enjoyed both, but I did like the availability and the dynamic that Prairie Fire offered, just because there's more variability. and you can do so much more out there. So it is kind of a disappointment we can't use that facility anymore.
Yeah. I think someone summed it up pretty well, though. You know, like, especially if you're an RO, and it might have been Tim Dundery who said it, you know, when I was talking to him on the stage he was running, and that was the fact that you wake up and it's dark, you go to the range, and when you, after the end of shooting, and by the time you get back to where you were in Las Vegas from Prairie Fire, it's dark.
Right.
So you leave when it's dark, you get back when it's dark, and like you said, with being only, I think we were like 10 minutes from the range at that Airbnb, and they were all centrally located. I mean, you had much more time. You know, you didn't have to get up quite as early because you're only driving 10 minutes versus at least 50. I know it was a 50-minute drive for me, so there's 40 minutes each way. There's 80 minutes a day you're saving in driving.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. And some people got lucky and were able to stay at their childhood home. So I don't know what more you can say about that.
Put them all in St. George.
That's right.
Everything sucks forever.
Everything.
Then I'll move back.
Now I did hear some inside stuff about, you know, it's like anywhere. There's a little bit of some politicking going on there. But you know, the other side of it too was not only was everything close for lodging, but restaurants and a lot of I mean, one day I had to run to Walmart and it was 10 minutes from the range. Like
Yep.
literally everything you need is within, that day I went to the Walmart was that the first day I got there? It was either the first or the second day. No, I got there Wednesday. So it would have been Thursday that I went to Walmart. Not only did I go to Walmart, but in the same parking lot area, I got a car wash because the rented vehicle looked like hell after coming through St. Louis and Denver with the snow and the salt and all of that. I literally couldn't see the side view mirrors. The vehicle was so bad. I got sushi at a restaurant and I got gas all in the same, like I barely had to leave the parking lot for all three. And then it was 15 minutes, 20 minutes back to the room.
And none of that stuff was there when I moved like 3 years ago. Oh,
Really?
Walmart was there.
Wow. That's impressive. That place is blowing up then.
Yep.
A lot of growth.
There's a
Okay.
lot to be said for running a match in a resort town that's never really like bad weather. It gets real hot in the summer, but like other than that, and but running it like after the peak season when the lodging prices and everything are kind of reduced and the crowding is reduced.
Well, I mean, it's basically a desert, so it's
Yep.
going to be hot in the summer. It's going to get cold in the winter, but stay pretty dry for the most part. Which I was not expecting the sand. All of
yeah.
the dust from the sand. It's like, holy cow. Okay. Now let's compare. Josh touched on it earlier. There at SUPs there are no terrain stages. You don't get that. But overall, how did you think the stages compared to last year's match? Josh, you can start on this one since Brian started last time.
Yeah. There was a good, I would say, for what we had available at the match, as far as the facility goes, I think it was balanced enough. Sure, we could have added a little bit more on certain aspects, maybe, more longer range paper targets, with the bays that were available, even with like the 100-meter bays that are available. Sure, there are things that we could have changed that would have been able to, help it make it more difficult. The stages from last year were fun. But there were some elements that I think that could have been better that I think we fixed this year. Just some gimmicky things, and honestly, it was mainly just the logistics and planning of being able to set up earlier, and having a facility that is like super supportive. Because last year, like Jason, like they had to provide everything. Like those guys were like flying and shipping everything in to the
Right.
facility, and the facility didn't have anything to offer. whereas SUPS has literally everything. Like we used every single barrel. Like we were digging in the mountains looking for barrels because and like painting them blue and black because like we couldn't, but like they had everything we needed plus more. That made it so much more easier and convenient to set up the match that it just we were on time and actually early if anything. So it just made it a lot easier and more efficient. So design-wise, the last year's stages were a lot of fun, and some of it was probably a little bit better than this year's. But I think just because of the limitations of the bay sizes and not having distance and terrain features, definitely showed its limitation. I think they were balanced, and I think that we at least did enough to warrant some challenge, but still fun. Do some inter squad competition kind of stuff. But yeah, I think both had their pros and cons. But this year's I think we did pretty good.
Okay. Brian, what are your thoughts as a competitor?
Yeah. So I need to preface this by saying I thought it was a fantastic event. It was great fun, and all the stages were very well done. There was not really anything I thought was it was a fantastic event overall, and yeah, all the stages were a good representation of what they were trying to do. So I say that to preface what I'm about to say, which is I
I know.
disagree wholeheartedly. I do not think that it was balanced. I
Okay.
just went through again. I thought it was fantastic. I thought that everyone who designed a stage, like for close range stages, they were fantastically well done. I wanted to make sure, and this is how my brain works and a function that the job Cardi and I both have. So I went through the stages and tallied up targets and distances. And the facility is not. I've designed, built, and shot a lot of matches there, even but before the Bay redesign, but even still. And the facility wasn't really utilized to its maximum extent for a balanced competition. If you're looking at schedule and what's popular and what people enjoy, fantastic. But so in terms of round count and points available, 270 rounds of pistol, so that's 1,350 points, which is 49%. Rifle was 276 rounds, which is 1,380 points, which is 51%. So a little bit heavier on the rifle, but basically balanced between the two guns.
Yeah.
I broke down the targets by distance, and I didn't have time to do this for last year. So this is just looking at what we have. Close range targets, which is distance either simulated or actual within 50 meters for rifle. 223 rounds of rifle out of the 276 that were available. So that's 1,115 points. That's 40% of the total match points came from shooting a rifle inside of 50 meters. I think generally inside of 30, but I didn't break it down that far. Which is, again, 40% of total match points and 80% of the rifle shooting. Medium distance, which, again, simulated with a mini target or actual distance of a full-size target or a piece of steel, 38 rounds. So that's 190 points, which comes to 17% of the points for rifle or 6% of the total match. And things which are far, which would be 100 meters or farther, or roughly that. I lumped a couple. There's actually some overlap here, so if you add these numbers up, they don't actually work because I didn't do good math very good. We had 15 rounds that were either actual or simulated distance about 100 meters. So that's 75 points, or that's 6% of the rifle, and only 2% of the total score came from rifle shots beyond 100 meters, or the overlap there was actually, when I looked at it, the 3 A-zone targets on, I believe it was stage 12, which were at 50 meters, but they're a 6-inch target, basically. So I lumped that into the far or difficult category.
Okay.
So if you're trying to determine, if we say that there are two types of guns, there are rifles and pistol, the pistol shooting was fantastic. I think that PCSL targets, hit factor scoring, the rhino plates, the balance of moving and activated targets was a fantastically well done pistol stage. The rifle was essentially PCC with a little bit of far stuff in there. So if you're looking at, there are two types of guns. There are pistols and rifles. Fantastic test for the pistol. The rifle was definitely unbalanced, very much so towards the close range. For reference on IPSC, and this was not an IPSC match, but I think they generally do a good job. Per the IPSC rulebook, targets within 60 meters should be recommended for a level 3 match, 40% of the targets in the match. And then between 60 and 150 meters should be also 40%. And then targets beyond 150 meters, between 150 and 300 meters, which we had none of, should be 20% of the match. So
Now
that, yep.
I don't know, does you being as familiar as you are with SUPs, do they have the capability to go, do they even have the capability to push PCSL rules to 200 yards?
They do. They have 2 bays, I believe. I know at least one. I believe 2 that are 200. Another it's either 100 or 150.
Okay.
And the setup for those stages, I told Max this, and he acted a little bit surprised. This is all said with love because I want it to be really good, and I think it can be good. I thought last year's match was a better balance. Those stages in those long bays were set up 30 to 40 yards inside of those bays. I think that pushing the squad staging areas out to the actual roads where you can't drive a vehicle anyway would have given us more distance. And you could have also actually touched the maximum distance for PCSL, which is 200. And in my opinion, like, you should represent just about everything in the sport if you can at the match. So you can actually touch 200 and get to the apparent targets. I think there were actually only 2 targets in the match. Cardi, you might know better. There were only 2 targets in the match that hit the minimum angular measurement target size. Those were the 2 K-zone steel on stage 12, I believe it was. Might have been 13.
What do you mean when you say that met the angular measurement?
So, PCSL rules, angular measurement, 8 minute of angle is the minimum target size for a rifle. So that's 8 inches at 100 or 4 inches at 50 is what those targets were.
Okay. Now I'm tracking you. All right. So you touched on a couple things now. I'm going to bring them up now that I have written down. I'm going to guess your answer on this one, Brian, is no, but I'm going to let you answer it first. And that was the rifle portion good enough to push competitors for distance and speed? And I mean those separately, like 2 different questions.
Well, PCSL, to answer the distance, PCSL doesn't really test to distance to the point where it matters for anything we shoot other than a PCC. 200 yards isn't really testing that either. It is a way to make it a little bit harder, and drop can be a factor.
Right.
For speed, certainly, yeah, it was very much dominated by speed for the rifle. Like I said, 80% of it was close range, kind of full size targets inside of 50 meters.
Do you? I guess let me add a caveat to that. And by speed, I also mean, do you think there was enough diversity in distance between targets to really test people's transition skills, that to create some separation between competitors?
To some degree, and the smaller A zone on the new practical target also does that.
Okay.
So that was a thing. One thing that could have been better in that respect also, it shouldn't really be your primary method of testing rifle skill, but to hit that medium distance, and just looking at it now, having the benefit of having shot the match and sort of giving some feedback for what I'd like to have seen more, would have been more use of the mini targets, even within similar arrays, just to get closer to that. Hey, simulated distances at least beyond 25, between 25, 50 meters within the stages.
Okay. Josh, what are your thoughts so far?
So looking at the numbers, because I was just looking at the data with Marcel and listening to just like kind of the overall numbers being put up by competitors compared to last year. Last year's numbers, like there were significantly more alphas last year than there were this year. And the stage, the bridge stage that has the 4 targets out to about, it was I believe 160, 170, somewhere around there. We saw on average a fairly let's just say under par, impacts on those targets. We'll call it that. Right?
Okay.
Compared to, now I'm saying average, right? Because Brian here is a world-class shooter. All the Polish guys, the Czech guys, all these like AJ.
The top 10% excluded.
Exactly. Top 10 excluded numbers-wise. It proved to be difficult for those people to get decent hits at a decent time for balancing and both for speed and accuracy. I guess to answer your question on the I guess transition and spatials, things like that, right? Some of the stages were able to challenge that. I think that a lot of the stages there was a lot of options rather than just where like an IPSC everyone kind of does the same thing, and maybe even USPSA. There was a lot of options for some of the stages that really any direction could go one way as long as you executed that. But yeah, we saw less points, a lot less alpha hits, and a lot less points being earned from last year to this year. Just one with the change of the target, because the target made it difficult. So our alpha zone is a little bit smaller. The K zone, the T box, the T zone is a little bit smaller, and I think that small change changed the dynamic of the match a little bit. Right now, I agree with Brian. I do agree with Brian. Like there could have been so much more to challenge distance shooting and add a little bit more balance. Make that a little bit more of a more value to that specific aspect of marksmanship in this match. But again, excluding the 10%, it still proved a little bit. It still proved challenging for most people, seeing the numbers.
Right. For the bottom 90% of people, it was much more challenging than it was for the top 10% of people.
In comparison,
I get it. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Keeping on the same theme, do you feel now, Josh, I assume you shot the match with the staff.
Oh no, we shot the pre-match, so we tested the stages and we did the whole match in one day.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah, it was
that's a big match to shoot in one day.
It was a good time, but it was rough. I think we started around like maybe 11 or 12, and we only got to like stage 12 just because things were like, we had to change some things maybe, and Max was off doing something, and the four of us or five of us that were shooting, we just kind of kept rolling, and things were still being built, so there was still, we wanted to test them before even the staff shot it, so just so that there was less of us to have to fix, so that their match could be a little bit more smoother. So yeah, so I guess like our match performance was like meh, but we were able to at least see everything and test them out to to the intent that we had them set up for, and then push from there for the staff.
Okay. So, Brian, you kind of touched on this, and one of the questions I had down here was, could you have competed with a PCC instead of a carbine at this match?
Yeah. I mean, that's a loaded question. You could compete with a PCC in anything if you're comfortable missing. But no, I think only if you want to say like actually have a reasonable standard of success,
be competitive.
You couldn't have done everything with PCC. I think stages, the bridge stage, which I believe was stage 10 or 11, and stage 13, you could not have done with a PCC. The drop with the partial target at 150 meters, that would have been not tenable. The rest of the stage without that one target, you could have, but you would have still been at a disadvantage, just not insurmountable. And that stage accounted for very few points. So I think you probably could have still, if just that stage, you could have. But then looking at, stage 13 with a 50-meter swinger, flight time on 9 mil at that lower velocity, you're pulling the trigger way earlier than you would with 5.56. It's going just double the muzzle velocity, and the actually more than that probably. And then the like I mentioned, the two targets that kind of touch the minimum target or maximum target size, which was those K zones at 50. A lot of PCCs without good ammo, and even with good ammo, they just don't have the precision. 9 mil generally doesn't do that.
Okay. You don't think you could get a high enough velocity and a good enough precision with a jacketed hollow point projectile?
Not to the same degree you could with 5.56.
Oh yeah, definitely not there. But I was just curious. I'm wondering if you could take a 115 and pack the hell out of that cartridge case. You know what I mean?
You could. I mean, I've taken 9 mil out to 250 reasonably. I think Arizona PCC, they actually used to have, I want to say it was 300-meter, like half-sized IPSC, so it would have been 9 by 12 or something like that. I could be wrong. It could have been just a full-size C-zone. You can do it. I actually found the best thing for that was available was 147 Federal HST, or just a good 147 grain JHP. It was particularly accurate, and it maintained its accuracy because it didn't go transonic somewhere around 100 meters, which is the same thing you see with 22s when you're shooting them real far. A lot of the guys that do precision 22 deliberately shoot something that's like a 40 grainer at 1070, or actually whatever bullet weight, right around 1,070 feet a second, because it's not making that transonic transition somewhere between you and the target, versus shooting a high velocity bullet, which is great until it goes transonic, and those bullet shapes especially don't perform well. Same thing with 9mm.
I mean, we tried this at
Interesting.
in California when we did that gig, Brian.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
When we did that, it was a 2-gun match, kind of.
Yeah, that
at a
sucked with
3-gun.
irons too.
That
was really
a
bad with
rough day.
irons.
That was a rough day. But we tried it. The guys had maul like Zach, and then they had mauls, and we had the other mediums uppers, and we were pushing these things, trying to go. I don't know what was the first, like it was like 250 or 3 or something, and
Yeah.
we were struggling.
We hit
even with
our
good ammo.
targets. I did with irons. It just took. We
A lot
also
of
were
man.
shooting good bullets for it, though. I think we were shooting like either some 882 ball or
Yeah.
Super Val or something. Oh, that's right. No, we were shooting Super Val 124s. I think it was a world shoot that we got for practice.
No, yeah, we definitely had the world shoot loads. All of us did.
Yeah, well, that'd be the best. Actually, that's the best thing for it.
Yeah.
We also had no idea. Like with preparation, that would have been doable. But also, why? We all have 223 guns. That's
Right, and we still did. We're like, yeah, screw it, we'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
But you learn when you do it. You know, I mean, you're still learning stuff. You understand things better. So yeah, I get it. It doesn't matter. So why not? Let's give it a shot. See what we find out. Maybe you need to run some NATO plus P in there.
Yeah, the new 115. Was it? Yeah, it's 1152 or whatever. It's a 115 at 1350 out of an M17. So that's got to be
AC
out of a
20.
That's
14 inch
kicking.
barrel. It's like
That's kicking.
yeah,
It's fast. It's fast.
AC 20.
What?
That's the dude.
AC 20, yeah.
I'm assuming you guys have heard of the Simex ammunition. It's a polymer core and a copper jacketing. So there's
Okay.
no lead at all. At their 50 grain range core bullet, I'm getting 2,200 feet per second out of a 5-inch pistol.
I mean, it makes sense. It weighs the size.
Yeah.
It weighs like a grain of rice. So you put enough
Yeah.
powder back there, things going,
Yeah.
things
Exactly.
going mock.
And being non-lead, it's probably long enough that you're getting stability out of 1 in 10. So that could be it. But again, we're spending a lot of mental effort on this problem, which is evidently solved by like any 223 bullet. And, like,
That's right.
You know what? You know what? I'm going to bring a PCC next year and shoot it as a competitor with Simex ammo just to prove that it's probably not smart.
And I'm excited to watch those rounds tumble,
Hell yeah.
just absolutely tumble by the time it crosses 50 meters. So
Hey, I'm going to have to do
It's
some
actually
testing.
taking, like high right over the berm.
yeah,
Because if it's not lead core 50 grain, it's probably like a 90 grain lead bullet, so it's probably not too bad.
right.
Oh, goodness. All right. And, I didn't know there was a partial that far out there, but that's a good point. And two, I didn't even consider swinging targets at 50 yards. So that would definitely make you'd have to lead it, and be able to catch that thing at the right moment. Yeah, that would be a lot
I
of
think we still
guesswork.
had to lead it with 5.56 too, to some degree. I think I had to pull the trigger like at edge of the CD zone, but that also could have just been not just flight time, but actual like visual
Reaction
process.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. That makes perfect sense. All right, so let's talk about the competition at the 2024 PCSL Nats versus the competition at the 25 PCSL Nats. I think there were about 100 more competitors this year than last year. So there were a lot more competitors. Obviously, that doesn't mean there's that many more, 25% more top 10 shooters, but a lot of the big names who were there last year showed up again this year. Pavel was there last year. I don't think he did as well. He did well this year. Mason, Nils on the pistol side, Kyle, AJ, rifle side. So what did you guys think about the competition in general? Is it similar to what last year was, or do you think the competition was better this year?
Both of us shot in the practical division, and I think in practical it was a little bit stiffer this year with some of the other people we had in there. Pablo really showed up knowing what it was, and preparing for it a little better, and being able to bring his own guns, which is a big deal because last year he shot with barb guns.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. He did. Yeah.
So Pablo A really showed up, and B, I know we also had I think some more good shooters in practical this year. At least Zach Smith also jumped in there. He didn't shoot it last year. He was doing demo stuff. So the distribution, I don't know how many more practical. Practical was a smaller division by a little bit. I think it was like 170 in practical and 220 in competition. But the distribution probably shifted a little bit more towards practical, if I were to guess.
169 competitors in practical finished the match. Four did not. But all right, I'll throw this out. I've not heard of this gentleman, and he may be well known in most circles. But Amadeus Shishka.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, I
Yeah, he
did
was there
not.
last year. Him and
He was
Bartos.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Both of them were.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean he was fifth, so
Yep.
he showed up.
Yeah, he's a real
If
legit
we're
shooter.
using the term showed up for doing well, he showed
Yeah.
up.
Yep. Sure
Okay.
did. Yeah, he's a highly skilled shooter, and yeah, I don't know exactly what it does for working Poland, but it's probably kind of similar to what Josh and I do, where it's centered around marksmanship and making people faster and more accurate. And yeah, he's top level competitor.
All right. Well, that's a good transition to another topic that I had down, which is I I talked to Josh a little bit about it. When he's ROing, you only have short windows of time to talk to Josh because everybody wants to talk to him. Or two, he is like back next competitor up. Let's go. There is no time when you have a squad there because he's quick on the get the next guy up and running. But we talked briefly how I said I feel like PCSL 2 gun is the best thing, the best competition for military folks. And I talked to Aaron Edens on the side, and we were chatting about it, and he agreed that this style of match suits the military well because you're using both issued firearms, whether it's a pistol or a carbine. So you get the use of both. Now, you guys train military, so what are your thoughts on that? Am I correct or am I off base here?
I can start. So I would say compared to what is what is on the market for
Offered,
people
yes.
offered options wise, there are competitions out there like the sniper challenges, guys with gas guns, like gauntlet matches, things like that require more physical elements to include shooting. I don't, no offense to like the tactical games people, but that's more of like an athletic event more than it is shooting. This is my opinion,
Right.
just from what I see. But if you're gonna, we'll go back to the balancing aspect of things. PCSL is inclusive of being able to just you can show up with your cage gun and your issued stuff and still be competitive, right? Now,
Yes.
granted, like anything in the competition space, everyone's going to figure out the better ways to do that division, right? That's what happened with Carry Optics.
Right.
That's what's happening with Practical now, right? Like Unrivaled, Zach and Kyle, they're coming out with devices that are still legal for those divisions, but they are allowing the system to perform very close to an open gun. So people are going to find ways to make that division push the limits, right? That's just how the market works, right? But I would argue that it really, yes, the bow and arrow does matter, but really how you operate that system is going to be up to you. So at this point, practical, opening up to guys that are in the military, that it's physical enough. It's not like challenging, but it's physical enough. What makes it exciting. The stages are longer. Like we're seeing an average of like 30 to 60 seconds of a stage rather than USPSA where I'm running a 11 to maybe 30-second stage. So there's some levels of more cognitive thinking, planning, a little bit of physicality into that, testing most of the elements of marksmanship. Obviously, rifle can obviously get bumped up a little bit. And it's inviting. I think the vibe and the environment is a lot more inviting than some other shooting sports, Whereas like everyone's welcome, come do your thing, have a great time, but we want you to be challenged and we want you to see what you can do with whatever setups you want to come up with. So
Yeah, and I think the last part that you talked about is the primary driver and most important thing about it, which is it is welcoming to not specifically the military, but just the demographic of people in it, like
yeah,
dudes our age, the kind of I'm in my late 20s, somewhere thereabouts. Like it's like I used to shoot cowboy action, which is a fantastically fun sport. Um, and this isn't a dig at anybody, but the prevailing mindset there, because everybody there is a retired 65-year-old plus. Just the cultural difference in people, three generations older than me, right? The core base of PCSL is still on the older side, but relative to the general population, like the distribution is probably still much more people over 40 because they have the disposable income to do this thing, which is rare for
And
people
and typically more time. Yeah.
and the time, yeah.
Yeah.
But the distribution is still far more so where you get younger people that are of that military age, demographic, and they're welcomed. The prevailing culture isn't just super rules based, like and you've actually seen positive cultural shifts, I think, in USPSA just because of the staffing that you see at major PCSL matches in general. Kind of, for I hate using this nebulous term, but here we go. Like the vibe is just different. Um, there's not a lot of reasons to DQ someone. No one's really trying to give you like kind of capricious penalties just because the rule book says you can or should. They actually look at it as like,
Right.
what's the right thing to do here? What's the welcoming, generally correct thing? Um, Not to the same degree of like outlaw and there are no rules as three gun, but yeah, there's a codified rule book, but it's designed specifically. Like when you look at safety and penalties, it's not designed to be a hard punitive. Like, oh yes, it disincentivizes the. I hate to say it because I don't want to talk poorly about another shooting sport. They're fantastic, just about all of them. But the range Nazi-itis is significantly lesser. And so when you get a dude who is, a 22-year-old Marine soldier or whatever, and he goes out to the match, it's like, oh, there's a lot of people like me. And even the guys who are, the civilians aren't treating it as an opportunity to dunk on me because I'm new and I'm young and hit me over the head with every single rule.
Well,
yeah,
I like too that there's a difference between a stage DQ and a match DQ as well. You can you can DQ on a stage, but not necessarily the match. You zeroed the stage, so you're not going to be competitive, but
Yeah.
at least you can continue the match.
The big thing is you look at it from not the global perspective of, okay, well, if we just had everyone do this, what would this do to the sport? When you're actually a range officer, you have the opportunity to look, or range master really at the match, you have the opportunity to look at the incident that occurred and said, do I need to stop this person from using a gun for the rest of the day or the rest of the entire event?
mm-hmm.
If the answer is no, then you don't stop them from doing that. That goes a long way because people don't come back to the sport if they get DQ'd in their first match. And, it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth when you get a DQ for something that is really not an actual safety infraction. Yeah, I saw a dude get DQ'd at a Nationals for something dumb because he was doing a dumb thing. He got DQ'd for like loading a mag in the safe table. All right, that's dumb.
Okay.
Dude, you're at Nationals. What are you doing? However, do you need to stop that dude from handling a gun? No, he put the wrong box on the wrong table. Like, go, hey, smack him in the head, say, hey, dumbass, go over here. This is not the
And
place for
that
that.
yeah, that was like the biggest draw about this format, this particular sport, is that because the rule book is pretty simple, right? It's not convoluted with all these different divisions and all these very specific rule sets that fit these particular setups that you want to come with, right? It's just going two directions, so it's easy to follow. We're not trying to penalize people and want to just push them away, right? Like people will make a mistake, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay. And I love the fact that we allow coaching in this sport too, where if you want to be coached through the process, I will have an example. Augie, he's one of the locals in that area that was fantastic. Older gentleman,
Yeah.
just but physically, he's an older guy. He has a lot of
Okay.
health issues, and he absolutely was killing it at this match. He did his best, and we walk them through the process. Like I can go up to the guy and be like, if you can't if you're not physically capable of getting out of this box, I will grab your rifle until you get out. You can keep going, right? Like we're allowed to just help people go through this process and enjoy the match, right? Like sure, I get if you're not gonna be competitive, but I want you to show up to this match, have a great time, make friends, just make good memories, right? Your performance, great. If you're a part of that crowd where like that matters, then do that. But at the same time, we're here to have a great time to waste money, burn powder, and be with our friends.
And the point here too is that he knows he's not going to win the match. He wants to shoot the match and have a good time. So if
Yeah.
you're able to help him successfully complete the match, I don't see any harm there whatsoever. Much more competitor friendly. I even really like, it's not lack safety, but I like the options of people being able to go to the berm and get their stuff ready and that thing without having to always find a safe table and being fully concerned about what they're doing between where they're walking from to the safe table and back. When you can get at the edge of the bay and keep your weapon pointed at the berm the entire time and do what you need to do, that should be allowed in more places, in my opinion. Now, the more you do it, the more options you give people to do crazy things, but we're all adults, so
It's
yeah.
I like to say that it's almost hard for me to go back and shoot USPSA with the amount of practice that I do, training and classes and stuff like that, and shooting PCSL or running matches of my own, because the gun handling rules for USPSA are like actually kind of insulting. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
wow, it's like you
It's a
guys are
little
scared
too
of guns or
much.
something.
It's a
Like,
little too much.
I actually did put that in my survey for PCC rules update at some point. I think it's like, yeah, I'd really like it if you guys changed your hopophobic approach to long gun handling. Which hopophobia, for those listening, is the irrational fear of firearms.
There we go. Well, I mean, Josh, I know you didn't, when you were on the team, there was no high power rifle team, or at least not that I'm
Oh,
aware of.
I hit the back end of when that still existed. So my summer season there was still bullseye pistol, bullseye rifle, and then they had the CST, the combat action, the shooting team. So that team was then split between multi-gun and USPSA. And then it kind of went away a couple of years later, within a couple of years
But
later.
NRA high power matches that the Marine Corps shot a lot of back in the day, people would be at the back of their truck right behind the firing line doing work on their guns. Now, the Marine Corps didn't because, they had an armor so they could walk to a big 18-wheeler and
Right.
hand their rifle to an armorer who would
The
then
whole mobile
take care of it.
station.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Them and the Army, they both had them. And there were, the Navy had one too, as a matter of fact, now that I think about it. But my point being that if you were a civilian and your vehicle was there, you could literally, once you cleared your rifle off of the firing line, you could walk back with all your gear, put your stuff down, and work on your gun if you needed to, because it was already cleared, so we know it's safe. You know what I mean? And oh my gosh, at least 20 years being around it, the only time anybody ever got shot was when the DEA had a negligent discharge at the FBI Academy. The round went up in the air, came down, and hit a colonel at, he owned one of those Gedunk trucks, one of those, I can't think of what we called it. But he was sitting there selling sandwiches to competitors, and the round came down and hit him in the
Roach
leg.
coach.
A roach coach, thank
Oh,
you.
roach coat, yeah.
Yeah, roach coach. So he was a retired colonel, owned a roach coach, got shot from I don't know, half mile away by a DEA agent. So
That DEA agent
nobody
was
on
the
the
only
range.
person in the room qualified to handle that firearm.
That's right.
But I mean, my point is that in 20 years of being around it, from a kid to a Marine, I never once saw anybody shoot anybody or have any negligent discharges because they were doing something with their firearm after it had been cleared.
Yeah, and that's a culture thing, right? Like you set the parameters to what is acceptable, and everyone's going to follow it, within lefts and rights. But, USPSA, as stringent as they are the safest, outside of people NDing on their legs and stuff. But like, there, has been it has been the most safe just because of how strict they are, and you can't argue that it works. But Brian said it.
I actually think that I can argue that doesn't really
Okay,
work.
by all means, please. But at the same time,
Here we
like
go.
Brian, he hit on T.
Now,
It
it is
is
a
it
matter of
is rather
numbers, but
insulting.
there have been 3 people killed at USPSA or IPSC matches that I
Yeah,
know of in the
ROs.
last 5 years. That's a numbers thing. There
Yeah,
are so many more people doing that.
Not and not from a medical emergency, but from a traumatic injury.
Yeah,
training incident.
two that were shot by someone on the range accidentally. One shot himself. That was an IPSC match in Vancouver, as I recall. And one that was shot and killed by unfortunately, a range officer was shot and killed accidentally by a competitor with a drop gun, as far as I know. I don't want to get into too many details because I don't want to misrelay anything, right? So
Okay.
those are the broad strokes of what I know. And then the third was someone who was actually shot. It's kind of bogus for me to bring that up too, because it was someone who shot from a public range from around that deflected off of basically shot over a berm that deflected off of something down into kind of a bay arrangement that was like public range berm and then match bays behind the public range. And I don't know what that is.
It's a cicada attack.
Well, I muted my microphone. I don't think it's me. That was big USPSA trying to kill the podcast. We were talking about the safety rules.
I muted Josh for a moment. Woo! I knew it was Josh because he disappeared and then came back. I'm going to unmute him. Oh,
Yeah, it's still bad.
and he's gone. So
We didn't
okay,
need
so
Josh anyway. Oh, there he is again.
you have to unmute it on the software, Josh. Look down at your picture.
I did.
Oh, Lord. Wow. Man, those cicadas are bad. Let me write down the time here so I can edit it out. All right, so one of the shootings may or may not have been do you know if that third shooting was actually in a match or was it just
It was somebody standing around behind a stage during a match that unfortunately caught basically a ricochet of a rifle round from a public
okay.
range. So it's not really fair for me to bring that up. That could have happened if you were running any rule book. There's nothing that would have prevented that, right? You just
right. Okay.
and it's very
but the other
unfortunate.
two
All those incidents are very unfortunate for everyone involved.
Oh, 100%. But
Now,
the other two sound more directly related to the actual.
yeah, and they're actually, I think, incentivized at least one. Well, no, I won't get into that because that would be too much conjecture, and I don't want to bring that up or make that something that's too public.
Sounds good on my end, Josh.
Okay.
What I will say is I think that the rules on gun handling in USPSA, because they infantilize gun handling so much to restrict it to only a safe area, and then there's always a 180, which is not a real thing that stops bullets. It's just a rule that you can't point your gun past. There's nothing physically blocking someone from falling over and shooting past 180,
Right.
which has happened in a USPSA match. I believe I had an area match last year or 2 years ago. It was a matter of note, and that shooter was actually banned from USPSA because of his handling of the aftermath of that.
Yeah, he got a 1-year ban, so it should have been up this year if he
Okay.
applied for reinstatement.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But because of the way that gun handling has happened there, I think we can probably point to more accidents or unsafe conditions caused by the fact that the only time we actually enforce gun handling is on a range, and bad gun handling can occur off of the range from USPSA shooters all the time. And I think that we're very early in the stages of long guns in USPSA, relatively speaking, right? IPSC since 1976, PCC since 2016, something like that, whenever they introduced that rule, 15 maybe, that division. So we're, 10 years, which also, sorry, that seems like, I didn't realize it was that long. Chamber flags, right? When you insert a brightly colored piece of plastic into a gun that says it's inert, people treat the gun like it isn't a gun anymore. And I think that's a bad thing for firearm safety in general. And if you want a perfect example of what that looks like, go to a trap skeet sporting clays range and count how many shotguns get pointed at you. Right? That's the same environment where there's clearly conditions where the gun is inert because it's broken in half and there's no shells in it. When we talk about
Right.
shotguns, and you will get guns pointed at you all the time, fingers on
100,
triggers all the
100%.
time, and that bleeds over to when they shoot a semi-auto or a pump shotgun as well. And that is the gun handling standard there. So you get someone that's new there, and they just see, oh yeah, they've got an over under or an actual semi-auto shotgun. Yeah, like they're sticking it on their foot. As a matter of course, everyone is at the trap range, right? I think that the way that we treat long guns, especially, and gun handling in USPSA in general, where it's so limited and we're so scared of having anyone ever touch their gun, that when you take any of those conditions away, gun handling becomes absolutely bad. It's also a reason I don't like DQing people from their first match if you can fix them, because all you do when you DQ someone from their first match as a competitor, you say, "Hey, you're not good enough to play here." They don't give up their guns, so they just take whatever bad gun handling, like little bad habit that you caught. They do that forever, everywhere else. They never get better.
So would you just correct the error on the spot and then let them continue?
Yeah, we actually have a policy that we've run at the Hardest Hell match. I used to run at the Red October match, and we run in classes where it's essentially we're going to hold you accountable to the rules, but the rules aren't something to firearms handling rules. But it's not something we're going to say, hey, you have to go home, because when the penalty is so severe, people don't want to actually do it. You just don't do anything about violations that happen unless it's so bad you're like, hey, you need to leave. The policy that we have is if you, for example, flag someone or engage in an unsafe behavior, we're going to tell you you did it. If you don't self-recognize, we're going to make you apologize for it. So I had a historically bad gun handling problem at the Red October match I used to run, the AK match, because it's a group of people who aren't familiar with competition, and they're generally the AK crowd, and their gun handling is, frankly, especially for the first few years, where they weren't used to being on a range around other people at all. It was mostly shooting like in the desert or whatever. Like it was bad, and the competitive shooters would kind of brush with like, "Hey, like they're pointing guns at me all the time." If I had enforced rules where you had to have a chamber flag, I would A, had no shooters, and B, I would have DQ'd probably half of the field. And so I was like, I can't really do that. I just have to correct bad issues where they happen. So what happened was the range officers, the fellow competitors, and myself gave a brief where, hey, if you point a gun, you can carry a gun on a sling, unloaded. You can carry it vertical. I don't really care. But if you're a witness to point a gun at someone at any point, you're going to get told, hey, you just pointed a gun at John over there. You need to go talk to John and say, hey, I'm sorry, I pointed a gun at you, and these were the conditions that led to it. I was uncasing my gun in the wrong spot, and I pointed my gun right at 3 people. You got to go find those 3 people, say, hey, you may not know me. I'm Brian. I unbagged my gun over here. I pointed my gun at you guys. I'm sorry for that. What I'm going to do in the future is find a better place to do that and just be aware of what I'm doing. If there's a habitual pattern of that, yeah, you're asked to leave. And there's still things that you can't allow to happen. Like, yeah, you crack a round off over a backstop within 10 feet, or just generally any negligent discharge, it's still a DQ. Like, you point a loaded gun at people, finger on the trigger, and all these, like, hey, there's obviously this is wrong and you can't do that. Behaviors where we have to stop you from handling a gun that day, you stop handling a gun that day. Everything else, we make you aware of it, and there's a consequence attached to it, but it's designed to help you learn and actually improve, not just say, yeah, you're not good enough, go away.
Now, if you have to disqualify somebody because they've done something egregious enough, do you ask them to stay and hang around and watch the rest of the match and help out so they're still part of it?
Yeah, absolutely. The only time I've ever had someone leave was when they was either unsportsmanlike conduct DQ or it was a safety DQ, but even if it wasn't, their handling of it was unsportsmanlike. As in, oh, so you just
Okay.
want to, behave abusively towards staff because they're calling you out on something you did. Go away and don't come back. But that's so rare that I've had to do that twice ever.
Yeah, it's an attitude issue. So, yeah. It's probably a character issue, and it's not going to get fixed that day.
Yep. Yes. It's like, no, you actually aren't good enough to be here. Leave. And that's just a character assessment, not a skill assessment.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no need for any of that. Anything to add to that, Josh?
Well, while you were talking, I was trying to diagnose all the problems I was having. Looks like I'm fine. I only caught like half of that, but pretty much
Okay.
in agreement.
That's all right. It's all nonsense. You didn't really lose anything.
All right. I'm just clicking on. Here's a side note question. As I'm the one thing I like. I changed to Mac. I changed to Apple everything a year ago. So there are a couple of things I like. I like the Notes app because I can make a bulleted list and click on it when I ask the question and it goes to the bottom, so it'll disappear.
Yeah.
But side note, Josh, one of the questions I had down specifically for you, because we talked about this ever so briefly when you're on the stage, was how many miles on average did you run on stage 7 every day?
I think Andrew clocked mine a little bit. Andrew Remlinger is on the Navy shooting team. I think I was doing like 30,000 a day. 30,000 steps. Sorry, not
Steps.
miles.
It's like 30. You set a record.
Yeah, so whatever that equates to, but not including what we were doing in the morning and obviously at night. So, but 30,000.
All right, I went ahead and clicked on the question that I was done, but to go back to the PCSL for the military, is there, if a military person just wanted to get a member, wanted to just get better at gun handling and their shooting ability, is there any, do you think there's any other league better suited for them than PCSL?
I would say, in terms of the marksmanship challenge and you're going and the skills that you are working on, this might be a hot take. It's also kind of not real in the U.S., but I would say that IPSC rifle is actually probably more valuable towards the skills that an infantryman would be using, just because I think that pistol, to be a compelling sport, and this is a good thing, pistol's heavily emphasized. It's 49% of what we had in the PCSL Nationals. In terms of what is actually being used by military members, it should be about like 80 to 90% rifle. The
Right.
distances should probably extend to at least 300 meters for 5.56 rifles. So IPSC rifles probably a better fit for more relevant, useful skills. Gun handling, it's a little bit weird because they don't force rifle reloads in IPSC to a real extent. Like you can use a 60 round mag for everything, but I think the actual bread and butter shooting skills, that might be a little bit of a better thing. But barring that, yeah. Or, hey, Cardi, you tell me what you think of this because you actually did the job. PCC and USPSA again, single gun. It's close quarters, but it's all rifle and designed to make you very aggressive.
Yeah, there. I've been asked this question before, as far as like, what is it worth pursuing PCC, and is there value in investing in that direction so that you can get better at rifle? I'm going to argue yes. What it doesn't challenge is obviously like shooting longer distances, but
Right.
what I did gain from that was being able to run a rifle very quickly, how to move with that system and efficiently, entering very particular areas, being athletic. So that significantly changed my game on running a rifle. And then once I went into, multi-gun, or in this case PCSL, that's when I applied those skills to take advantage of what I can do with a PCC to a rifle. And then now I have to just learn the marshal's piece of shooting a distance. Steel, paper, doesn't matter. A close second, not really good for pistol, but like the guys like gas gun series, if you want to apply shooting at distance, that challenges is knowing how to obviously call wind, utilizing whatever mil-radian reticles or whatever optics you're using, positional shooting, things like that. And maybe even like the NRL Hunter stuff or the sniper challenges, which you're doing kind of blind stages, and you have to plan, work with the teammate. You're bringing all of your equipment to the stage and setting it up, and then obviously executing, the impact of the target based upon the information you're reading out in the environment. Right, that could be another alternative, but not for pistol.
Yeah, I kind of too feel like the sniper competition stuff is a little bit more specific for DMs or snipers, that type of thing. Like your average 0311 isn't going to be doing anything like that. Where that's where I think almost the PCSL, and the reason I'm picking out PCSL is because you could literally take the two firearms, the two sidearm and firearm that's issued in the military, and be competitive to a point. You're not going to beat the guys who are pushing the limits and the boundaries of the rule set to game it. But I mean, if you're especially at like a local or something like that, or even a like I don't know where the crowd came from that shot the goat down in Florida when they held that one, or even the match out in Richmond, California. But I feel like those are more regional and less national. So you get a different crowd. I feel like you could probably be more competitive at those regional matches with, an issued style rifle and pistol.
I would actually say that last year I won the PCSL Nationals in practical with the same gun I shot this year, which is a 14.5 mid-gassed LMT with a Surefire War Comp, and nothing else really all that fancy about it. So 1-8, but Night Force 1-8, which is like a slightly better version of the VCOG that's issued with the same and basically a cheaper version of a rifle of an optic that is issued to SOCOM and the ATACR.
Yeah.
There
You
is
can
Ridge
shoot the whole
1-6s as
match.
well. So I would say that especially on the rifle side, like I wasn't at a disadvantage shooting the same gun this year. The pistol side, yeah, it's a little bit different. Even that depends on where you go and what you're issued. Like I wouldn't feel too bad shooting practical division with an M17 with a red dot. Like it's not optimal, but if you
Doable.
make a mistake, your mistakes are emphasized more so with that gun versus 2011. But it's not an
Right.
insurmountable issue. I mean, shit, Mason beat me with a with a 320.
Right.
So
And you like last year
Pavel
I
beat me
shot
with
my
a
Carper
Grand
too.
Power X caliber. So
Right, there you go. Yeah, and like these guys are running, LPVOs, kind of red dots, whatever it might be, and I just ran a red dot on a carry handle, and it was fine. Right? Is it optimal? No, but it can be done. Right? So that if you want to test those skills and run those systems and test them out to its capability, based on yours, you can still be competitive.
So was the tape primary or backup?
I will die on this hill, and again, that rifle is my all-time favorite rifle of all time, just from the historical significance of that was when we started really, like all the applications and all the things the variants that we have when it comes to rifle shooting came from that part of history.
Okay.
High rise optics, slings, kits, like all evolved, and we're all doing the same stuff, just with better, more modern technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that was yours. I had seen it, and then someone was like, "Oh yeah, Josh let me borrow it to shoot it," and I was like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna have to ask him." So that was tape that I saw on the gun.
Oh yeah, yeah. That optic.
Okay.
Oh, the Surefire that I put on there is literally just me taking the Scout Pro and just wrapping a bunch of tape as tight as I could to then separate from the
Okay.
FSB so it doesn't cause any type of shifting or contact, and then another layer so that it was solid enough so I have good thumb placement. So if I want to use it, my thumb's in the right position and it's not going anywhere.
All right, I like it. That right there is marine ingenuity. I'm liking it.
Oh man, Army was doing that a long time ago, well before I was alive.
Well, the tape's gotten better, so maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. All right, so here's a question specific for you, Brian. When did you get good with a pistol?
when did I get good with a pistol?
At birth.
Yeah, at birth.
Yeah, yeah.
Came
no,
out
I
just
mean,
GM.
When I think of Brian, I think of rifle. I don't think of pistol. And then here you are, second
I'm
on
a-
the pistol only stage to Mason.
Yeah, there's no reason I should have done that. Everybody else that actually practices with a pistol should be ashamed. No, I've been a grandmaster with a pistol. I'm a grandmaster in 5 divisions, and I have been a limited. The first division I made grandmastering was limited when I was like 16. So I've been a grandmaster for 12 years.
Good Lord.
So I just like the long gun stuff because it's more compelling and interesting. But what's the Quigley Down Under? It's like You know,
Oh yeah,
I never had much use to. I said I never had much use for pistols. Not that I couldn't use them.
exactly. There you
But no, I
go.
was actually, in my opinion, I overperformed at this match with the amount of focus I put on a pistol this year because I practiced pistol. I actually tallied it up. I think exactly 3 times I deliberately practiced with a pistol. Josh was at 2 of them. And the other one was like for an hour and a half before I shot, before I left for this match. So,
But does that just go back to the point that if you're a GM in that many divisions, it means your pistol shooting skills are very honed and you
yeah.
don't have to spend a lot of time to remain good. Now you may have to spend more time to stay at the top of the GM level, but you know what I mean? Like your practical skills are still there. You just need a
Yeah.
warm up.
Yeah. The last classifier match I shot at GRB, was that 3 months ago, something like that. I shot open minor. I was a 92%, and that was basically again that was the first of those 3 practice sessions that I did was getting ready for that. So yeah, kind of my baseline in a minor power factor division is like low GM. I'm not going to go win a level
Yeah.
3 without any work, but yeah, it's kind of there. And shooting a nice gun definitely helps. Like my mistakes matter a lot less with a 2011 with a 2 pound trigger than they would if I were shooting a Glock, 17 or 17 with a with an RMR or something like
Careful what you
that.
say. The 17 is goated.
Yeah,
Well, and I had Mason and I recorded an episode last night and we specifically talked about this. And he said, absolutely, a good gun, like a metal heavy 2011 with a nice trigger and all of that, he said that will mask your errors. Because I told him how I had shot Area 8 the first day with my Rival S, which is a steel gun, and I started having malfunctions, quite a few of them. And I was like, oh crap, something's up with my gun. So I switched to the polymer version the next morning. And the day before I was hitting all steel, no issue. And then I started with the polygun and I'm like, man, I'm having to do a lot more makeup shots. And then the more I thought about it, the more I realized what was going on. And come to find out it was the ammo, not the gun, because I still had issues the next day.
yeah. I
But
like to say that going to a good gun basically it just tightens everything by 2 inches. Like, oh yeah, that would have been a Charlie with a Glock. It was like 2 inches. Yeah, that was actually that's you masked that like that's an Alpha with a 2011. It's like yeah, you missed the target by like a little bit. Your perfect with a Glock became like comfortably inside the D zone with a 2011.
and his point was he's like, if you can get to master level with a polymer gun, he said, then you have honed your pistol skills very good. And then if you take a 2011 or a metal gun of any competitive type, you're automatically going to be elevated because your skills are there. And now the gun is actually helping with some of the other things you
Yeah.
might be missing.
I would actually say if you want to learn a pistol well, truly, in a classical way, you should shoot a single stack 1911 and 9mm for a few reasons. The gun is out of your way, so you don't have to deal with the weird contoury, swoopy nonsense that most polymer pistols have. The trigger's not bad, like have to make it like a pound and a half. Just a neat normal like my Dan West is specialist in 9mm. Like if I had to say, hey, here's a pistol, here's how to learn it, starting from zero, it would be that. You get some controls, but they're smart. Like yeah, there's a thumb safety. If you have anything approaching a correct grip, the thumb safety is not an issue, and you can use it when you reload and get used to using all the controls on a pistol. You have to reload. Like if you make a mistake and you don't do the accuracy part, you have to reload. Um, with irons, if you're starting from zero, I think it's easier to learn an index with irons and that just basic. This is how a gun is aimed. I'm not saying it's better to do everything with irons. I'm not like in that, but like yeah, oh, I can see a front thing. I can drop into a rear notch. Okay, cool. I can progress from here and then learn sight alignment by feel, and then like go to a red dot very easily once you learn that. And 9mm, so it's not like a super challenge for recoil management, but it can't be, you can't do nothing.
Right.
But most importantly, I think you get an extra 20% better because Jesus loves you for doing that.
Oh, good Lord. Or John Browning or both.
That it's the same. It's not a trinity. It's actually a quadruplicity. It's like Father, Son, Holy Spirit, John Moses.
There you go. All right. So here is an opinionated question. I kind of like that PCSL has a 200-yard limit for the rule so that people know going in that, you know, if the limit was 300, I'd be okay with that. I'm just saying I like the idea of the rule book stating this is what the maximum range is so that when people come to a match, especially like nationals, you know, you should anyway, you know enough about your gun that you know what you need to be able to do out to 200 yards. Do you guys feel the same way, or do you like the idea of there being more figure it out when you get there and see the stage?
I could speak on why they would have made that decision outside of marksmanship, but it does open more opportunities to work with more ranges so that you have more
Okay.
availability of options to host events, because most ranges should have about 200 yards of space that it fits within the rule book that we can make a match challenging. But if you have something that, like a multi-gun event, now you're using huge complexes in North Carolina, or training events or training complexes for like military and things like that. So you just limit your options for hosting events just on that aspect.
All right.
Yeah, and if you want high-level competition to generally look the same, in that take USPSA or IPSC rifle, a level 3 match. Well, that's why I referenced that ratio earlier of what distances needs to look like in an IPSC match. They want it to generally look the same or similar challenges so that it's not overemphasizing one skill. They force the balance there. In a pistol-only sport, like the a level 3 match between any of the 8 areas and the nationals generally look more the same than they do different. Even if like area 6 does some weird stuff, or area 3 throws in a mine cart, or something, or area 2 used to have a mine cart stage where you went down like kind of a roller coaster. That's like one stage out of the entire level 3 match. So they generally test the same things. Within 3-gun, just if we take the shotgun out of 3-gun entirely and just say, yeah, it's rifle and pistol, but the same challenges. Like the rifle stuff I shot at Fall Brawl, yeah, we shot up to 700 yards with the rifle and in the wind and all this other stuff, right? And I think that's good. But then I go and shoot, let's say, USPSA Multi-Gun Nationals. They have one bay that's like 250 yards, and the rest of it's all super close, or relatively pretty close, like certainly within 100 meters. So, yeah, I think that it's a good thing to cap it at some distance. I think they should go farther by instituting a similar ratio to IPSC, but with the caveat that simulated distances are acceptable as well. Because I would say that if you trained for this year's PCSL Nationals based on last year's PCSL Nationals, you would have come to a different conclusion than if you trained for this year's PCSL Nationals looking at, say, the GOAT match, which I think was based on facility, primarily a close range match. So yeah, sorry, that was a long way to answer your question. I like a hard cap. I think it should be 300 because you actually have to account for distance and a similar. Like I think a target size of something like maybe like more like 4-minute angle, like a 12-inch target at 300 is a reasonable standard for carbine shooting, and not to the point where you have to use crazy match ammo to do it.
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing. Or hand loaded. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that commonly in the training pipelines for the military too. So if you're going to caveat or bring that into as well, most intermediate distances are being tested up to 300. So that would be a good inclusion there.
That's a good, and that's a good real life, legitimate distance to be testing out too, especially in the military. So I get that. You said a match where you were shooting out to 700. Now that would add a whole other perspective of, are you shooting 223 or are you shooting some other carbine load?
Yeah. You want to get Kyle Litzy to crash out. You just mentioned that. Because he hates that part of 3-gun where it's like, oh, the wind comes up and it pushes your bullets all around and da-da-da. It's like, yeah, okay, dude, whatever. So I will say, yeah, we shot to 700. I still wouldn't have shot anything other than 5.56 because the preponderance of targets were within 400 and recovery time's a thing. And the targets they put at 7, like I hit it first shot. That's not even a brag because the target was like I don't know, 6 feet by 6 feet or something like it was not small.
Okay.
Um, they weren't testing, oh, yeah, it's MOA. It was more just distance to say, distance for distance's sake, to say, oh
Okay.
yeah, you shot to 700 yards. It's like it wasn't really like the hardest target on that stage was if like a C zone at 500, which is still certainly hard. Um, but yeah, and the based on everything else, no, I'd still shoot 5.56. I would maybe consider something more on the like. I shot 77s for sure. Not like I wouldn't shoot that whole thing with 55s. That would not be a winning strategy.
Right.
Memorial, we shot to, I think, the same distance. I do everything in meters, so it's weird. It was like 700 yards, shooting 69s, which were not supersonic at that distance, but it didn't really matter. I still hit it because it was accurate. If there were more like that, or if that was really like that distance, the amount of time you spend on extra shots is so dominant too. Like your follow up shots are over a second, probably, depending on position. 5.56, but like something spicier. So 77 grain, like 262. So 77 grain going like 2,800. Or now we see the hybrid case or steel case, like the NAS 3, Shell Shock Technologies NAS 3. And there's some other technologies out there where you can push the pressure and therefore get more velocity. So I want to say the guy that won the QP Quantified Performance Gas Gun Finale was shooting 5.56 in a 14.5 Sons of Liberty Gunworks. He won the Practical Precision Division where you can shoot whatever the hell you want. He shot a 14.5 with 73 grain ELDs, and I think they were somewhere around like 3K out of a 14.5.
Wow.
So you're getting a 4 mile an hour wind bracket out of that, and fast enough that your drop and range estimation errors all matter significantly less.
Right.
Is that something that a normal dude should like worry about for general purpose rifle shooting? No, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, shooting to 300 on a 12-inch target, I think is eminently reasonable. And I would say that if you're trying to fully test the spectrum of marksmanship, then yeah, a few shots out to that distance are not a bad idea.
Okay.
But not so much that it dominates the competition. I think that the Zoo City matches I shot this year, Memorial and Fallbrook, both did a very good job of that.
Okay. So Josh, as an RO and someone who shot the pre-early match, if you were going to be doing the same thing at PCSL Nationals next year, coming in early, helping to set up, what is one thing you would like to see changed or added? Not necessarily changed, but added for, say it's at the same range. Say he holds it at subs again. What would you like to see added or we'll even say subtracted from the match next year?
This is going to go back to agreeing to what Brian was saying. Take advantage of the bays to utilize the most amount of distance to test distance, because there are a lot of those D zone bays were pushed pretty far forward that we could have definitely stretched them to challenge longer range marksmanship, to at least add a little bit more of that to make the match a little bit harder, or at least emphasize that marksmanship it's important. I think this year compared to last year. Now, last year I showed up like at the last second of setup, so I didn't make it to like the whole setup. But coming to this year, I wouldn't really change anything per se, because we set up on time. If anything, early. We had a great support system, and everyone was about it. Going back to like the vibes thing, we just have this drive of work ethic that everyone wants to be there and make sure that everyone's getting a good product and having a good time. So I would love that to just continue, which we do, because the PCSL family is incredible. Like, it's a really good group of dudes and gals that just love doing what they're doing, and we have this just soul community of people that are doing this, that are wanting the same thing, that to everyone have a great time and show up and do the thing.
And I'll echo that absolutely. And that was apparent as someone who showed up like Wednesday at 3 p.m. That was apparent from walking on the range the very first time. Was like, oh yeah, this is a well-produced event for people where everyone involved absolutely cared. Like I have some criticism of the balance and stage design and all that, but it was very apparent that it was run by people who put a lot of care, heart, and like effort, soul, and generally just wanted everything to be as good as it could for me showing up as a competitor. Um,
I
so
had
yeah,
never seen like this is kind of new for me in the last like year or two. So I picked up wanting to work for matches, just being an RO and solely doing that because I really do enjoy it. I love being that behind the scenes, giving people a good time, making a good product and all that. And seeing this team work, care, spending going getting there at like 06, 07 to make sure everything's good to go. Like everyone understands what they need to do, so it's organized. And then staying until like 7, 8 o'clock to make sure that everything's prepped after. Like that attention to detail and want to make sure that we are prepared for the next day. I didn't see very often at matches I had worked previously in other sports.
Okay. Interesting. What do you think drives that? Is it Max or is it just the people in general?
I, Max definitely set the tone for sure, right? And he
Okay.
brought in people that either were trying to get away from other sports that either rubbed them the wrong way or they had a bad experience, and that this is the thing they just didn't want to be a part of anymore. Cores, be a part of because something happened. So he got all these people collected that like cared about the community, provide resources and efforts because a lot of these people have either a business or resources that help this system work of as a community of workers, and it just grows, right? So like you set the culture, and this is like how it's going to happen. Like you set the mood, everyone wants to be a part of that, and you're going to continue that mood, right? You bring in the right person, that person is going to bring the next right person, and then you just build a good community, and everyone follows the same behavior.
Okay.
and if I can jump on that too,
Mm-hmm.
the real important thing is yes, it was defined by like overcoming the shortcomings we've seen in the shooting sports as they are. Not that they're bad, but yeah, like there's things I don't like. We talked about gun handling USPSA or whatever in three gun. People gravitated towards PCSL, were given what they needed to succeed in order to work for, the many hands made comparative, well, I won't say light work because there's obviously a lot of work, but happily doing hard work because they were people who had an issue with legacy shooting sports and chose to to define the solution by what they wanted, not by what they didn't want. So it wasn't just negativity and oh well, this is dumb, this is stupid, and blah blah blah. I hate this, and the board is stupid, and USPSA and DRY is blah 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 blah. It's like yeah, like we're dissatisfied, so we decided to make something that was what we wanted, and just always be defined by what we thought was good.
Yeah, and I think it evolved at the right pace. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't rushed. It also didn't take 10 years to evolve into what it is now. So it wasn't rushed. I think it's at the right pace. But Josh, that means the amount of time you're investing in the back end of all of this obviously affects your ability to perform competitively because there's no way that you're shooting all those stages in a day and doing all of that other side stuff while you're shooting the match preemptively.
Mhm.
And so obviously you've made a conscious choice that that's what you want to do.
Yes, I made a decision, and this is what I believe. I believe that if you're going to work a match, work a match. If you're going to shoot a match, shoot a match. It is very difficult to blend both of those things and expect to do as well as you think you want to do because your mindset is not into the match. It's more on logistics. I have 15 different tasks that I'm trying to focus on to ensure that I'm making sure that, yep, that steel is in the right position, it's calibrated, that paper needs to be in this position. Like I'm thinking about the logistics and the organization and making sure that my boss and all the guys on this stage are good to go, everyone's healthy, everyone's happy, everyone's in the right spot, they need what they need, all that stuff. Like so if you're going to do this, you need to make a decision. Just either accept that you're going to work and not get the performance that you want out of, and just be okay with that, or do one or the other, and that's it. And at this point, I've come to a point where I enjoy and I have more fulfillment working at matches, especially with this PCSL crew, than I do with shooting, because I am a part of a good community of people that care about the outcome of people's experiences. It's heading in the right direction when it comes to marksmanship competition and just, we'll call it, the vibes. And I would much rather be a part of that process than worry about shooting. And shooting, like, I'll do the shooting just because I can, but I'm not expecting myself to do well. I know I'm going to do poorly, but I've accepted that. My match performance isn't important to me anymore. Whereas, like, I have now put full focus on making sure that I am um, a productive member of this crew, that I am going to be, that I can come back and continue helping this community grow. That's what's more important to me than shooting a match well.
Okay. All right. For both of you, do you zero your PCCs at the same distance you zero
50.
your carbines?
No.
Okay.
So principally, one thing to remember, if you zero at the top of the trajectory of your cartridge, you will only ever have to aim up. So for 5.56, that's 100 meters. For most supersonic rifle calibers, that's 100 meters. For PCC and 22 both, that's somewhere around 50 meters. So for a general purpose PCC zero, yeah, 50 is where I'll do it. I'm shooting IPSC, where they push the target distances a little bit farther in a level 3, 4, or 5 match. That'll be 50. If you are doing anything other than that, so if you're doing for 5.56, let's say, generally, and this is general, and I don't recommend this necessarily, but generally, rule of thumb, 50 meters and 200 meters line up at the same place.
Right.
That's not real. But if you do something closer than 100, you are still zeroed at that distance, and everything closer than that distance, your maximum holdover is height over bore. So
Right.
if I know that my shots will all be inside of 25 meters for PCC Nationals, I'll zero at 25 meters, and I will never have to aim any more than height over bore. I just want to avoid the situation of having to aim under a target in order to get a hit. So if I know there's going to be some hard shots at 50 meters, I'll zero at 50 rather than rather than run a 25 meter zero and aim like a little bit low on the 50 meter target.
Okay.
Again, longer answer. I hope that was simple enough to understand. But basically, general purpose, 50 meters. If I know that the target's going to be close than that, I'll zero for the farthest target.
Okay. So for PCSL Nats, what did you zero at?
100.
100.
You did 100? Okay.
And
All
then
right.
I am also, because I have a real scope, or generally use a real scope.
As opposed to a fake scope.
Well, not a red dot, right? A red dot's not a real
Not a
scope.
red dot.
A red
Right.
dot
On
and
40
magnifier
meters
is not
height
a
of a
scope.
bore.
I know what you meant.
Oh, there's some hard stuff at 50 meters. What's my 0.6 through 0.6 mils on. I'm 0 to 50 now. Or if everything's at like 300 on this rifle stage in a real match, IPSC match or a 3-gun match, like I can throw my 300 meter dope on this gun, and I'm not scared to do that, and I'll take it off. I've dialed on the clock in a 3-gun match, and I won the stage in my division.
Okay.
I would add, if you're going to zero your rifle, PCC doesn't matter at any distance. Just know what your rifle or PCC is capable of at various distances. Know where they're going to impact. Train, like actually practice. Put targets at those distances, and if you have a 25 meter zero, which is not recommended and ideal, understand where those rounds are going.
I take we're saying the same thing. I take a much more pragmatic approach of you're not going to train beyond your zero distance, not generally speaking. Like Josh and I both shoot a lot. We very seldom get the opportunity to shoot beyond our zero distance with a carbine. So practically also, yeah, 100 meter zero, and then everything is aiming up to some degree, and it's much more based on like, oh yeah, that target at 700 yards, farthest I shot the load was 300. Right? Had a good zero, had a good solution ballistically, like a good verified muzzle velocity, everything plugged in the calculator. And like I said, with 77s, first round hit. With 69s, second round hit in some wind.
Okay.
So,
All right.
and with a PCC, generally, if it's designed to be a PCC match, this is a far lesser concern.
Do you see any other, you having grown up in St. George, and I'm sure that means you probably shot a bunch of matches out west, and you guys travel for work, so you get around that way as well. Do you see any other ranges out there that, and this is not, let me preface this with, this is nothing to do with subs, just me not knowing all of the ranges out west because I don't get out there. Are there other ranges out there that you think are capable of holding a PCSL two-gun Nats?
Cody,
Rio can do it,
Wyoming.
but I don't know if we want to work with those crews.
Sorry, who?
Rio.
Oh yeah, Rio could certainly. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't immediately think Rio. Rio could, although Rio is it's actually impressive how they run a major match at Rio Salados. That's in, for those who aren't familiar, Rio Salados Sportsman Club in Mesa, Arizona. It's where they had the Area 2 Desert Classic and the Superstition Mountain Mystery 3-gun, among some other major matches in the West. They aren't really set up architecturally, the actual layout of the range. It's not a very good practical shooting range. They have a very limited amount of bays, but they make some pretty judicious use of shutting down like high power service rifle public ranges in order to make a level 3 match.
Those communist bastards.
Yeah. Like they have a couple
down.
pistol bays in the back of their high power pits. So there's like target carriages, and it's like, oh, and there's a couple bays here. You know,
Don't mind
and
us in the
opinion,
impact area.
Yeah. Well, we're not shooting in the, yeah.
Right. No, I get it.
Yeah. Rio Salado certainly could. And there's club. I don't want to say club politics either. It's just a super busy club. Like the match could, their matches can fill up from Phoenix alone. It's a massive group of shooters there. So like adding anything on the calendar is a significant thing. Same thing with subs actually, because I kind of tried to schedule my AK the match there after some other things fell through, and they were gracious enough to try to work with me. It just in the end couldn't because of the reschedule. But yeah, Rio Salado and then Cody, Wyoming. It's hard to get to because I don't know where the hell you can fly in to get to Cody. They have a great shooting sports facility, and I think Rapid City, South Dakota. That's still the West. They have, from my understanding, a pretty good.
Is that the new one?
Yeah, that's the new one. I haven't been out there yet. I don't know if it's even open, but it looked like it was pretty impressive. And Rapid City's got a regional airport you can fly into. It's probably about as hard as St. George. Like, go from a major hub into Denver, probably, and then catch a regional to Rapid City, rent a car. Black Hills are actually really nice in the summertime and kind of probably early fall, late spring.
What about,
this year they had Area 3 this year.
Yeah.
There.
What
And
about
then Heartland
New
in Nebraska
Mexico?
also. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. What about New Mexico Legacy?
Oh, yeah, Legacy Ranch. Used to be Founders Ranch. That could do it. Yeah, that could do it, too. It's around Albuquerque.
That could do it.
I was just thinking back because that's where they used to have the Cowboy Action World Championship. So I've actually shot there for an amount. Mutual acquaintance of both Cardi and I from the Marine Corps bought the place and turned it into a place called Legacy Ranch. They do some training. I do some local level match stuff, and they could be a host. Middle of the country, kind of, I guess, would be Heartland in Nebraska as well. And that's run by Tom Bush. That's the Hornady Range. They're also doing a Hard as Hell 3-gun match in October of next year. So the Hard as Hell Heartland Ha.
Okay. Well, and I know some of those probably don't have all of the props like SUPS did, where, you had everything on site that you needed versus Prairie Fire where you had to import everything you needed. So that's also a big benefit there. So I get that. Who invited Mason Lane to this match anyway?
I shot it last year.
I know he did. we chatted about that because last year he was very frustrated with those belt steel targets.
Well, they put him a lot closer this time.
Yeah. Yeah, he and I spoke after the match before the award ceremony
Yeah.
last year, and he was frustrated. He was not
Yeah,
happy with those.
last year was a similar thing. I won the all pistol stage last year, and I'm looking at it like, how the hell how did anyone let this happen? Like, I shot a little more pistol last year, but not that much, and it was a gun I hadn't touched because Taryn lent me a Sand Viper, sent it out with one of the employees that was shooting the match from TTI. It's literally lent me a gun I hadn't shot in a holster that sucked because the new ALS 2011 holsters were pretty bad without an up mod. So this one was like, wait, really? I did? And I did trash on the all rifle stage.
Well, he put some time in for this year, and it
Yeah.
obviously showed up in the result. So that guy is just in general a very good shooter. So
Yeah, it's wild what a principle based approach to fundamentals of marksmanship will do for you.
100%. And I like the crossover. I like that Nils. I think Nils shot some other 3-gun stuff before in the past anyway, or
And
multi-gun
she shot
stuff.
3-gun,
But
yeah, historically.
yeah, yeah, but not Mason. So I like seeing the crossover from some of these guys who are extremely good with a pistol, shooting rifle, shooting pistol combined, and seeing them doing well.
They just need to throw a
Is there-
shotgun in one stage as like a stage gun just to like force everyone to like, no, damn it, you're shooting 3-gun.
You know
Oh,
what, why don't we
boy.
just put a door and let's just blow through some 1x2s and let's just carry some water jugs.
Yeah, exactly. Oh wait, we did that.
We did that.
We did run a 2-gun match where there was a shotgun as a stage gun, and you had to shoot targets on the ground and a flying clay.
Alrighty then.
So
Is there anybody in the competition world that hasn't shot this match that you guys would like to see do that?
I'm sure there is. Yeah, mostly we're talking international. Like I'd love to see Jarkko Laukia and Raina Pelkoski shoot it.
What about
All
Rhino?
right. Where are they from?
Finland.
What about Rhino?
Okay.
What about who?
Rhino.
Yeah, Raina Pelkoski. I said.
Oh, I didn't hear the first name. Sorry, I was like, I didn't hear that part.
Well, if you listen, no.
His earbuds might be
There's a bunch
squealing.
of like. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I said
I
his
just said,
earbuds
like-
might be squealing.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
they
to
are. I can
see,
hear myself talking still, so I'm like trying to not listen to myself. So it's yeah.
There's probably some like I'd love to see Rob Latham come out and give it a try too. Jerry still hasn't shot it to my knowledge either. You know, some of the top shooters from Taryn, come back out, shoot this one.
Did Daniel Horner? I don't think Daniel Horner has shot it. Has
No, he hasn't shot it. I'd like to see Dan come out and do it too.
he? Yeah. I think he's still young enough that he would be competitive. Whereas Rob, I don't think with his knees would be very competitive, especially like
Yeah,
on
that
stage
swinging
7.
bird would be a little bit rough.
Yeah, stage 7. That was a lot of running, a lot of fast
Yeah.
running. So those things would be difficult.
Graffel, that'd be cool to see Eric come and shoot it.
That would.
Yeah, some like more getting more on the pistol side. It'd be cool to see Christian Seiler, Mike Wang, Brian Jones. Some of those dudes. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Major-
Actually,
Basically
they should
any
just
major
stay away.
player.
In fact, there's already too many good shooters, especially in practical vision. Like, just stay out.
what were you saying, Josh?
I was just saying any major player or sponsor shooter that represents a company, I would like to see them come out and do this.
Okay, that makes sense. I know
Now we should
Hornady
ask who
sponsors a bunch
should
of
not
rifle
shoot in
guys.
Michigan. Yeah.
That might be a little spicy.
No, I'm just kidding. There's no one I'd like. No, I think everyone should shoot it.
Someone I really want to see shoot this is Ken Nelson.
Yeah.
I want to see your deck come out.
Yeah, my mom doesn't want him to come out to the range very much because he'll start volunteering again, and that was enough of a thing for his time. She looks at him real sideways when it's time to like go out to the
That's a sore spot, I take it then.
kind of.
And if you didn't catch on and you're just listening to this, that would be a relative of Brian's.
Yeah, that's my dad, Ken. So he's,
Yeah.
was the started practice corps and used to run. He was the match director for the USPSA Nationals and a lot of other stuff at SUPS, and was the president of SUPS for
Oh,
many years.
okay. Wow. Interesting. Did not know that.
Yeah.
That was everything that I had. I don't think. No, I asked about the rule changes, so that's everything I had, and I've asked all the repeat questions I've had because some of them I typed in while you guys were talking. That's a nice thing about having a quiet keyboard. I can do that. Was there anything we didn't talk about with PCSL Nats, whether it was last year's, this year's, or next year's, that you guys want to talk about, or just two gun and or multi gun in general?
I one thing I saw at the match that I love seeing is all the families coming out to support their kids and their or relatives. So Ken Ogren, he's out of Oregon.
Oregon.
He brought a junior team with him, and they had been training for upwards of within that year or 2 years, and he's been helping them develop their skills and get into the competitive space. And like their whole family came out. It was like a whole event for them to come out, volunteer for the event, um, and also shoot it. And then a lot of the squads that I saw also bringing their families. Like someone was from a local area, and their entire family came out and watched them shoot. Like see the community in the light that their sons or daughters or relatives are enjoying, and see it for real. Like just experience it. Granted, being a spectator for the sport is not the most desirable thing to do. It is very boring because you're just kind of sitting
Yeah.
there in the hot sun or cold, and
It's like, wow, they
just
put a lot of
watching.
patches over bullet holes and pick up a lot of metal plates. It's weird.
That's right. But I
I
love seeing that. I love seeing the support of everyone's loved ones coming out and watching, their kids and their husbands and just enjoying the sport, enjoying what they love to do, and I guess get perspective of why they do it. Not only because it's fun and challenging, but like you start coming into building a relationship with other people that you might not ever think you would, right? Like I have made more friends in the international space in this last year than I have ever done in my entire life because of this sport, right? With Pavel and his soon-to-be wife Gabby, and like the
his
Polish guys over in the
photographer.
Finns. Like it's cool to get connected with all these people, and it only happens when you start introducing people that aren't necessarily competitors, but just like want to understand why this person enjoys this particular sport and they can see it, for real.
Okay, yeah, and I'll even say that Tom Castro gave the button for the start signal on the shoot off stage to a small child. I'll say he was like 10, maybe 11, maybe 12. I don't think he was that old though. Probably somewhere like between 9 and 11. And, every time Tom would give him the signal, he'd hit the air horn for the start signal on the shoot off stage. It's like, you don't see that at other matches. I was like, that's
No,
cool.
be inclusive, just
Yeah, that
let
was
people
cool.
have a good time, have this, kid of this shooter, be a part of something, right? He's not just there to watch his dad, shoot the match. Like, tell him to say something, go pace a couple targets, go set some steel or hit a horn or maybe shoot a full auto 22, for
Yeah.
so what I mean? So it's like that's what I love about what is happening with this particular sport is that it's very inclusive, it's inviting, and the vibe is a lot more palatable for most people.
Yeah.
That
It's like
Glock. Go ahead, Brian.
it's like someone said, "Oh wait, this is supposed to be fun. Oh, let's make this like really fun. This is like in every way."
I am having a brain fart because I cannot think of the name of the Gatling gun on ships.
Oh, the
It's a
CWIS?
It's a Sea Whiz. I was like,
Oh
see
man.
something, but I couldn't think of it. That Glock, when I was on other stages, sounds exactly like a Sea Whiz or the gun on the 810. Same brr, brr. I was like, what in the world is
I think they
going
are the
on?
same gun. The CWIS might be 20 millimeter.
That
Anyway,
might be the same gun, just on two different platforms.
Yeah. It was cool. Like they brought out the TX-22s and they're like, you know what? Let's just give
yeah.
them away to everybody.
Squad.
Who go in. Like enjoy.
Also, the squad shoot off, fantastic.
So much fun.
Playing music,
Amazing.
Yeah.
having a DJ actually play the music, having the MC kind of like talk shit about you, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Parading people.
Or in my squad, mostly
Right.
just about AJ. It's just like,
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh wow, that's funny. Too bad
It
I
was
missed that.
hilarious.
Personalities like that.
Yeah.
In order
Yeah.
to,
Like, yeah.
you got to find the right people. And like Tom is a very loud, very just, he's a
Yes.
character. He's a very, very loud person. Whether you like him or not, he bring an environment and a light to that type of activity, and just I don't know, just it just made it more
It
fun,
was fun.
right?
It is
Just made it just
exactly a job
so.
for Tom Castro, is what that is.
Yeah, that was
It's
the
like, whether you
perfect
think that's
stage for him to be.
appropriate for any other circumstances, like, no, this is a place for Tom Castro to be Tom
That's
Castro.
your job,
Right
dude.
here.
That's all you do.
Like, this is why you're here.
Yep. There you go. Exactly.
To extend that, by the way, to the vendors, like side stages and stuff like that, shoot off, like, yeah, this is an event and it's fun. That's something I think Cowboy Action actually did a fantastic job of too. As a like, they always had a bunch of side matches and vendors, and it was like an experience to go to a Cowboy Action match. The USPSA Nationals is that way. It used to be, I think, a lot more that way too. Look at the old Steel Challenge, World Speed Shooting Championship back in Piru, California. They had a bunch of side matches, vendors, and stuff like that too. All these things that, especially if you're not just going there just to win, it adds to the experience so much as a shooter.
It makes it
Yeah.
worth it. You're spending all this
does.
money to go there, and if you end up not performing, you're gonna go and come back and go, "This was a bad experience." So even if that happens, everything else about the match makes up for that.
Yeah, that was a genius idea, that squad shoot off. You couldn't come up with a better idea for that match. I told Max, I was like, other matches need to emulate that, because that was too genius. That was too smart. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys coming on and talking about this stuff. If that's all you've got, we'll call it a day, but let's not call it the last time.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks for
was a
coming on. I
blast.
appreciate it, especially late at night like this.